Hello, 你好，欢迎回来，Welcome back to Wisdom Wednesday with Johnny Tiger on February 2nd, 2022. Groundhog's Day. From what I heard, the groundhog peeked out of its burrow and went right back in. So looks like this winter is going to last a while longer. This is also the second day of the Chinese Lunar New Year. Uh, Traditionally, this is a day when married women, were allowed to go back to visit their own family. Now, I know that sounds totally ridiculous. Nowadays, you can just go back and visit whenever you like. No one can tell you no. In the old days, that wasn't always the case. In ancient China, actually not even that ancient, only 100 years ago, even 100 years ago, women were not encouraged to visit home, their own family, unless there's some really, really good reason. Whether someone passed away on their side of the family, they had to go back for the funeral, or they were abused and thrown out of their husband's home. So usually, if a woman suddenly out of the blue visit her side of the family, uh, it's generally considered bad form. People would think that there's something going wrong with her marriage. She wasn't happy with her new family, and even her own parents weren't always welcoming if she dropped in for a visit on days that were not uh, customary, such as the second day of the Lunar New Year. A lot of time, women who went back to visit their parents would be treated with a little bit of a cold shoulder or be held at a distance because to a lot of family back then, once you are married, you're no longer a part of my family. So if you're no longer a part of my family, what are you doing? Just dropping in and eating my food, drinking my water, taking up my time. So yeah, talk about how times has changed. We are lucky to live in an era and age where you can go visit whoever, wherever you want, whenever you want, as long as you communicate with them and say, hey, I want to come for a visit tomorrow. Yeah, 100 years ago, for women, this wasn't possible. Now, we are in the year of the water tiger. Um, so whatever this means for people, depending on your Chinese element and Chinese zodiac, we won't go into that. You can go and look up your Chinese horoscope on Google, uh, and you'll find a lot of different sources. Astro Sage is a good place to look. Just enter your birth year or your, if you know what Chinese animal you are, and it will tell you your upcoming horoscope for this year on Astro Sage. But since we're coming to the tiger year, it is a good time to tell a tiger related story. But as usual, Wisdom Wednesday is not just about storytelling. Uh, for if you enjoy the more story and folklore part of the Chinese culture, then I highly encourage you to check out my Johnny Tiger Experience podcast. You can find it on any podcast platform, on iPhone, on Amazon, Spotify, Anchor. Just look up the Johnny Tiger Experience podcast. Hey, it's a year of the tiger. What better than starting a Johnny Tiger Experience podcast? On the Johnny Tiger Experience podcast, there's a segment called Tales from the Far East, where I give you much more complete and lengthy folklores and traditional tales, fairy tales and histories and stuff like that from uh, China, from Taiwan, from that part of the world. But today we are going to tell a story. But this story, aside from relating to tiger, it's also related to one of my favorite food, almond. Now, almond is one of the things that have really, really great health benefit. Now, keep in mind, I did not start eating almond because of reading about all these health benefits on Google. I've always loved almond, even when I was a child. But almond is rich in magnesium and vitamin E, and it's a great source for snack. It can control your blood sugar level, and of course, vitamin E is high on the list of one of the most beneficial nutrients for your body. Almonds uh, are also high in antioxidant, which will prevent your cell from being suffering oxidation style damage. There's a lot of health benefit from eating almond. I encourage everyone to look it up. Not to mention, it's just really, really delicious. Just 1 ounce of almond will fulfill a third of your daily vitamin E intake. I mean, how great is that? 1 ounce of almond, that's barely anything. Almond, because of its taste, its flavor, its scent, and its highly concentrated nutrients, is one of the staples in Chinese medicine for long, long time. However, it it's not something that's originated in China as far as anyone can figure out. Almond actually originated from the Middle East. So in the beginning, Chinese people didn't have almond. We had peanuts, we had walnuts, we had pecan. We didn't have almond. So how did almond first get into China? Well, this is one of the folklore that's surrounding how it first got introduced. The story goes that a long, long time ago and far, far away, and we are going back a couple thousand years, there was a doctor in China, in a remote part of China. Back then, doctors were far and few in between, and the good ones were even more rare. But luckily for the villagers, this doctor was a very good doctor indeed. He could cure most of the illnesses and injuries the villagers suffer during their daily life. And for people who didn't have money or gold or silver to pay him with, he would take food or uh, whatever they could give in return for his service. And for those who are really, really poor, who really couldn't pay him anything, he was willing to just do it for free. Because to him, making people well was more important than making money. If only some of our doctors today can learn from that, huh? Anyway, the story goes that one night, in the middle of the night, there was a sudden and urgent rap on the door, and this doctor struggled out of bed and went to enter the door, and he saw a man and a woman supporting another man between them. And this man was unconscious and suffering from what he could see from his professional assessment, blood, blood loss. He was going into shock. The man and the woman brought their companion in and laid him on the bed and said to the doctor, this um, family member of ours, he suffered a hunting accident. He had an arrow lodged in his neck. And can you do something for him? And without a second word, of course, the doctor hurried to treat the patient. And it was really bad. And he really didn't think that the patient was going to pull through. However, the patient proved to be uh, very strongly built, had a very strong constitution, even with the massive trauma and blood loss, he was able to recover. During his recovery, the patient stayed at the doctor's place. The doctor sheltered him, fed him. The man and the woman, who turned out to be his sister and brother, came to visit a few times, but they also explained to the doctor that they did not have anything to pay him with. The doctor said to them, "Well, can you? I know that you guys are hunters because you mentioned hunting accident. Uh, how about uh, just bring me something that you can catch?" So that's how they paid him for days and the next few months while their brother was recovering in the doctor's care. Uh, he would have random uh, hunted prey appearing on his doorstep. Today he opened the door, it's a couple of rabbits already dead and skinned. And tomorrow he opened the door, it would be a deer already killed and skinned. Uh, so they kept him really well fed. However, the doctor soon noticed that there was something strange about his patient. His patient had appetite that's just abnormally large, even for such a large man. And he was very temperamental and, in some ways, very naive to the ways of uh, normal people. He didn't know much about money, he didn't know much about politics. Uh, Sometimes, when the doctor was trying to converse with him, he didn't seem to know anything. He didn't know a lot of the scholars and famous generals and warriors in Chinese history. It's almost like this guy just grew up, uh, well, under a rock or something. However, this patient, as he was recovering, he soon proved himself to be a very good at physical labor. He was immensely strong, and any heavy work that needed to be done around the doctor's uh, home slash hospital, this patient was very eager and very good at attending to them. Gradually, he got strong enough to even go out on little hunting excursions, and he would bring home more goodies that he could catch. They soon became really, really good friends. And one night, after the patient brought home a wild boar, and they sat down, they prepared a nice meal of barbecue pork. The doctor decided to bring out some homemade rice wine to offer to the patient, and they could have a drink and have enjoy their meal. Long story short, patient got really drunk, and doctor got very drunk. They both sort of dozed off by the table. Next thing the doctor knew, he sort of woke up, needed to go and relieve himself, and he looked across the table, and to his great shock, he didn't see a man there. He saw a tiger, a very drunk tiger, dozing on the table. It scared him so bad that he sobered up immediately. He probably made some kind of a noise, maybe screamed a little, and the tiger woke up. And the tiger looked at him and said, "Ah, well, what can I say? Sorry about that. Sorry for deceiving you, but yeah, me and my family, we were doing our own thing in the mountain, and I got shot by a hunter. Uh, that's why we had to change ourselves into human form to get you to help us." I would I would beg you to keep this to yourself because obviously we are not normal tigers. We are tigers that have been around for a long time. Some people will say we are demonic, but we have never harmed anybody uh, in our life. So if you keep this to yourself, then I'll never bother you again. If you let this be known, then the villager will probably come and hunt us down with pitchfork and fire, and it will just be bad for everybody. After saying that, the tiger got up and left. Well, the doctor was really shocked and horrified that all this time he had a demonic tiger thing living under his roof, and he didn't even know. But he respected what the tiger said, and he never told this to anybody. Years later, the doctor pretty much had forgotten about this incident because of how well he did with treating people. His business got better and better. Eventually, he opened a hospital right beside his own house and was able to treat more people. One day, about 5 or 6 years after this tiger incident, the doctor opened up the hospital, uh, ready to go in, and he realized there was a little baggie hanging on the door. Inside the baggie were some strange nuts that he never saw before. Well, uh, he was kind of perplexed. Like, what are these? And then he saw a note in there with the nuts. And the note simply said, "For your kind service for keeping our secret, these are called almonds. They will help cure almost anything. Use them wisely." The legend is that the doctor started experimenting, putting these almonds in his medicine and dispensing them to his patient. He also planted some of the almonds and started growing them in his backyard. And true to the note, what the note said, these were like medicine from a god. They were able to make people feel better and treat some of the ailments that were untreatable at the time. Because of these almonds, the doctor's reputation grew bigger and bigger, and he became really rich. But maybe because he got too famous and too rich, then one day a couple of local thugs decided to break into his house and rob him. So these thugs broke down his door, went in, tied up his family as well, and was ransacking his house for money and medicine, anything they could use. When out of the blue, three extraordinarily large tigers came charging in through the broken door and killed the thugs and dragged them off into the mountains. Their bodies were never found. From that day on, the doctor never had any problem from from bandits or thugs ever again. It was rumored that his hospital was protected by the local tiger gods, and he was not to be harassed in any way. So this was one of the legends of how almonds got introduced into China. It was to pay the doctor for his kind service to the immortal tiger gods. And uh, the interesting thing about almond is, in Mandarin, it's one of the luckiest uh, nuts as well. due to its name. In Mandarin, almond is called xin ren, xin ren, Xingren, xin ren. X is pronounced with a sh kind of sound, xin ren. Now, these two words is actually xin and then ren. These two words are both really good words in Mandarin. Xin means trust, and ren means mercy. Uh, so the name of the almond is trust and mercy. If you take the word ren and put it in a different tone and you say xin ren, that also means very trusting, very trustworthy. If you turn these two words around, so rather than 信人, you say 人性. That means humanity. So no matter how you slice it, it's like a really good sounding name for this nut that was meant to be payment for this kind doctor in the ancient time. Before I go, I want to leave you with another little trivia about almond. A lot of you might have already been enjoying almond milk, almond tea, almond cookie from Chinese cuisines. Something you need to know is when you enjoy almond product from Chinese people, a lot of time it is not actual almond that you are getting because there is another thing. It's called a Chinese almond. A Chinese almond is not almond. It's apricot kernel. So a lot of time when people are making almond milk, almond tea in China, they're not using the almond that you think they, the almond you're thinking of, and you're getting product made of apricot kernel. So don't confuse that with eating good, honest to God, down to earth, real, crunchy almond. It's not the same. Thank you for checking out today's Wisdom Wednesday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Toy Thursday. For now, 谢谢 and 再见。